Okay. So it's wonderful to be home. One of the things I've done is I've come back with candles from the water healing, because part of the work of healing the waters of the world is to create this link or bridge or connection between Our Lady of Ngome in South Africa and Our Lady of Lourdes in France. And that's just the symbolic spaces, because both of these spaces have miraculous healing waters. And the energy of Our Lady in these spaces, as well as Our Lady of Velenkani, which is also a coastal-based system, is high vibrational. There are portals open, ready and available to work with the waters of the world. So we're using those spaces. It is very convenient that I can be located in all three easily, which for me is a wonderful demonstration about how we create our worlds, how we manifest our own realities or destinies merely from our thinking and from our intuitive or instinctive flow in our relationships with each other and with the universe. So I like the way things are unfolding. The candle that's burning here will just connect with the candle that's burning at Lourdes. And then, of course, we're going to take one to Ngome. And the purpose of the candle, firstly, is to perpetuate the intention and the prayer, to maintain an awareness of that intention and prayer, and of course to have a light, to just keep a light burning. There is absolutely no reason why you can't be doing the same with tea lights and all sorts of other things in your own spaces, so feel free to do so. But in the meanwhile, you can maintain your awareness just by maintaining your intention, by healing water wherever you go, by being thankful, by revering it, by not wasting it, by being aware of its impact on life in all of its forms and frequencies as we enjoy it right now. That aside, the whole other system of healing that is happening worldwide at the moment is a call for peace, for a more humane existence. And I'm not going to depress you or bore you with the details of everything that's going wrong in the world. You all know that. You can just watch television and you'll know that. And in fact, if you just don't even watch television, you just listen to the stories and go on Facebook or Twitter or anything else, you'll know all of these stories. And you will also know that there is a big movement, that there are waves of movements coming together energetically all around the globe, demanding a constant and consistent shift. We've already talked about how all of us need to be less zombie-like in our approach to what's going on around us, how we all need to know that if it is happening someplace else, it is in fact happening to you. This notion of being separate, that it's only happening there and it's happening there and it's happening to those people and it's not happening to us. We have to shift out of that kind of thinking, which is egotistical, separatist thinking, and come into this oneness thinking, which is very much what Tuesday's meditation was about. You will also all have seen a video that I shared on Facebook where a scientist is talking about how, in fact, not one of us can claim to be separate from the others purely by the act of breathing. That every breath we take has been in somebody else or several somebody else's a few weeks ago. Did you all see that?
Yes.
Yeah, it's fabulous. It's so lovely to have scientists verifying and validating what we all know energetically and spiritually. And then the third thing that's going on is a whole shift to actually become more active, more aware of how we are interacting with others, whether we're hiding or limiting our use of spiritual awareness in our relationships with people at work, with people at school, with people on the street. What are we doing to indicate to others that it's okay for them to come out of hiding too? As you can imagine, there are some spaces where people are completely ignorant of the possibilities of a different way of being and doing life. They cannot fathom that there is another set of laws that applies to the way the universe works. So they are completely ignorant, but they are not blissful. So as people who are practicing, who are aware, we need to become more conscious of how we are talking to other people, how we are sharing information, whether we are inviting them, not to convert by any means, but inviting them to become more and more aware. In other words, if you are living in a circle where everybody already knows what you're talking about, start opening up your circle so that you are talking in other circles and spaces, so that you are sharing who you're becoming in other circles and spaces, because this is one of the ways in which we remain separate and must become aware of how we use belonging to keep us separate. It's called sharing, and we've already had a meditation about that. So today when I arrived in South Africa, a part of me was totally delighted to come home. And for somebody who left South Africa saying, I'm going home, it felt a bit weird. And I've been feeling completely at home in different spaces. I go to India and I feel at home. I go to Shahina's house and I feel at home. I go to Pascal at Lord's and I feel at home. I go to Anisa's house and I feel at home, I go to Amtata, I feel at home. I am completely at home everywhere I go. But arriving back in South Africa and getting off Air France was awesome. It was a totally different feeling of being at home. My body, my physical body, firstly, recognized that I was on home ground. My physical body recognized that it was in a space, a physical environment that it knows well. So I could feel this shifting inside of me, and a feeling of relief even that I am home. That knowing that I'm going to sleep in my own bed tonight, Although I carried my pillow, I was going to sleep in my own bed tonight. And I was going to have my own towels, and my own shower, and my own shampoo, and my own toilet paper, and all sorts of little things that speak to who I am, inside out, every day. This physical plane reality and comfort zone that I step into that knows me, and I know it so well. My emotional body also felt like I had arrived home. Home in the sense that I will be understood. Here I can just speak in English and everybody will know what I'm saying. There's no that awareness that I must check if somebody understood me, or I must pay attention just in case I don't understand what they're saying. A totally different feeling emotionally, and I knew I was home. But even as I was registering that, and I was registering that from a soul perspective, I was home in terms of this is where I chose to be born this lifetime, all of my bodies were giving me different types of frequencies or recognition of other spaces where I know I'm home. So now I'm feeling all the spaces where I feel at home simultaneously, spaces that I've visited once and I felt at home there because there's an imprint in my body from some other lifetime. And after Tuesday's meditation, I have the feeling of my body bringing up different recognitions, different imprints, different memories, different knowing of all of the different spaces where I am at home, because I, as an energetic being, have established belonging there by living there or experiencing there or becoming there exactly as I have in this lifetime, in this body, in this space. So it got me thinking about all the imprints that we run around with simultaneously, all the colors of self that come together in any one lifetime to create a now moment that holds the wisdom and the knowledge of all those other moments. I'm curious about how a meditation would work in terms of us living those moments or opening up those imprints, and I don't even know if it's wise to do so. But I was sitting in Johannesburg and contemplating this, And I thought of deja vu moments and coincidences. All the physical sensations that we have of something being familiar and we know it, but we don't know how we know it. All the vibrations that we respond to unconsciously and subconsciously and consciously, and we have that knowing, and then we go and get on with our physical lives and don't really pay attention to what it's saying to us or what it's opening up or creating anew inside of us. What is it resurrecting or rebirthing in us just by having that feeling? And we're in this 40-day period, so I plan to use it as well as possible in order to see what else can I resurrect, what else can I rebirth, what else can I renew within myself from the perspective of I, the soul, who is a multi-dimensional being, having lived a series of lives and therefore has ownership of the series of imprints or histories from a variety of bodies. Did that go down well? Did that make sense? Anybody confused? No? Okay. So I, the soul, immediately became a story that is bigger than the Bible. Right? I'm convinced that I have so many stories, and I can feel I have so many stories inside of me, imprinted in my being, that when I look at a place and it feels like I know it and I've lived here and I've been here, then not only am I creating a new experience, but I am very possibly reliving an old experience at a different frequency, exactly like we do in this lifetime, where we are reliving the same experiences over and over and over, but at a different frequency. So what I'm doing is looking at things from a different perspective, or a different point of view, if you will, of I, the soul, versus I, the human doing. And I'm not even thinking about it in terms of past lives. I'm thinking about it and choosing to feel it all in the now moment as a series of spaces where I have imprint or memory or understanding or knowing or knowledge that is me, even though I am not living there right now. Now, why would anybody want to complicate her mind and her life this way? Seriously. I mean, one story, one life is enough to live, right? Why would we want to complicate things by looking at all of that or shifting into feeling all of that? Several good reasons. See, don't ask stupid questions, Navi. Several good reasons. One good reason is that it then preempts any re-experiencing that I might have to do in this lifetime. If I can gather, if I can download, if I can use all of the knowledge and information imprinted within myself at a cellular level in all of those other lifetimes and experiences and use them in the now moment, then surely I will be serving myself instead of having to redo a whole range of experiences to start over or to learn from scratch. I just want to make my life easier when I learn French. See? It's got its uses. So there's that. And then there's curiosity, which I've said is a useful thing to have, to indulge from time to time. And then there's just the possibilities. My mind runs riot. My imagination just goes overboard at the possibilities of living an imprint within this identity. Not living that identity, but living the knowledge, living the intuitive knowing within this identity. So imagine what you might have learned in another lifetime that you can use because it is living inside of you as a memory, as an imprint, as cellular knowing that you have not yet accessed. And then there's that possibility, which for me is the most exciting, of traveling to places and spaces without ever having to leave home, without having to get onto Air France, Because this is what the energetic connections do. It creates a bridge between you in this moment, here and now, and you in that moment, here and now, where the knowledge or the wisdom can be transferred from one to the other energetically without you having to be physically moved. And this transcends any and all limitations imposed on self by the physical body. If I, the soul, knows, and I, the soul, is the hub, the housing space of all of that information, it can be used, it can be downloaded through your spiritual Wi-Fi at any moment. And our bodies, our physical bodies, are designed in such a way that we can feel that which has more meaning, more value, or has familiarity to us across lifetimes as opposed to just one lifetime. Now we know that we do this with people, where we meet people and we go, oh, soulmate stuff. We're so connected. We click with each other. The fact that we can do this with places and experiences, with actual skills. Now I think that's just awesome and amazing. I marvel at the miraculous invention of God that we actually are. Now if you look at the world, we know that there are children who are child prodigies of music, for example. We know that they have this innate quality or talent or skill, and if we look at some of their past lives, we'll be able to see lifetimes in which they have spent acquiring the expertise. And then when we ask, so how do they know to use it in this lifetime? Mostly there is a soul's contract that says, in this lifetime I am bringing that expertise to the fore. It's going to be a natural talent that I utilize, with or without training. I will be a natural. And we know about these people who are naturals at things. On the flip side of that, for those of us who are not a natural, but we have had the experiences and we have had the learning, albeit at a lower vibrational or not at the same level of expertise, that too is still available. We can still acquire that information and that wisdom by being the space that anchors that bridging between lifetimes. And I'm speaking about it as a bridge because for the human mind, we want to discern two seemingly separate spaces and experiences, when in fact, energetically, it is all the same thing, the same space, the same moment, and you are the space in which it is being experienced simultaneously. This sounds like a chat that needs to be transcribed. So for today's meditation, just before we go into meditation, I want to just practice a simple technique. I want you to imagine a triangle where the apex of the triangle is facing downward. So just imagine that triangle with all three sides intact. And then from the apex of the triangle facing downward, I want you to see a spiral flowing out, meeting the sides of the triangle so that the spiral is becoming bigger and bigger, a bit like a tornado as it moves upward into the triangle. So the smallest point, it's fairly easy to imagine, right? And to imagine that spiral flowing up, so its broadest point is at the top of the triangle, which is actually a flat base. Now put a triangle on top of that. So the two flat bases of the triangle meet each other, and the spiral now gets smaller as it goes to the apex. Can you see that? Now put a triangle on top of that, so the apex meets it, and so on and so forth, until you have what would effectively be what we would call a perfect sound frequency, yeah? Where it would begin, it would flow to its crescendo, and flow and peter out again. Yeah? We may even have the perfect light frequency where its source and its seemingly end point or termination point are of the same frequency, but that termination point is in fact a new beginning, a rebirth, a resurrection. And then it blossoms until it reaches its peak, and then it gradually gets smaller again. The only difference is that in the model we're creating, the triangles or the flow is going upward and downward as opposed to a linear fashion. We are not quantifying it in a linear fashion of 0 to 100 to 0. What we are in fact doing is raising the vibration from 0 to 100, and then 100 to 0 on another level, which is actually a whole new 100. Am I making sense? If you imagine it as the rainbow, that the frequency of red, if you imagine the frequency of red getting higher and higher and higher from the apex of the triangle up to its base with the biggest flow, and then from there it moves into orange, which is a higher frequency than red but a lower frequency than yellow, and then out again, where each time we add a triangle, the frequency is higher than the previous triangle, but the spiral is being contained by the triangle itself. Don't worry if it don't make sense. Just focus in on if you can visualize it clearly. Is everybody getting this visualization? Okay, let us meditate.